Just for the record, can you once again repeat as to how many members does your unit consist of?
So insofar as this matter, my lord, we are three, the investigators. That is myself, Sergeant Mokola, the female Sergeant Mokola, and Sergeant Mohane, currently.
Now, on page 43 of the record, lines 5 to 6, you mention the date on which this matter was allocated to you. Is that correct?
That is correct, which is the 12th of November 2018, my lord.
And just for the record, can you just mention the case number of the matter that the court is seized with?
So yes, my lord, it's Phosphorus 636 of 10/2014.
Another docket has been mentioned in these proceedings that ran parallel to the main case. Is that correct?
Yes, I've heard about it, my lord. That will be Phosphorus 375 of 1/2019. But in that aspect, my lord, maybe one should put it into context that case 375, it's not a murder docket. It's a defeating docket that was opened by Warrant Officer Makubo as the complainant. The only murder docket of the deceased, that is Senzo Meyiwa, it's this matter that is before court. There is no other murder docket that is registered out there.
You have already mentioned a name of an investigator who's associated with this other investigation, Phosphorus case 3751 of 2019. Is it the only investigator who's associated with that investigation?
No, my lord. There is also a Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi, who is also associated with the docket 375 of 1/2019.
Brigadier, can you, in your own words, give a background of what happened after you were seized with this matter that is currently before court, and also at the same time deal with how the other investigation, Phosphorus case 3751 of 2019, came into existence?
Yes, my lord. So, when we were appointed, my lord, and I'll go back to November 12, 2018, Warrant Officer Makubo as well as Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi were part of the investigation team. So I was appointed to lead the team, and then they were seconded to work under myself, together with Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, who was part of the cold case unit, is now since retired, my lord. So the cold case unit, which included myself, this Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, female Sergeant Mokola, Sergeant Mohane, were basically in charge of leading this current matter, my lord. Yes, but in terms of the appointment, the four of us, meaning myself, Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi, and Warrant Officer Makubo, were specifically designated to look into this matter, me being the lead investigating officer on the matter. Now, my lord, after I've signed for the docket and received it, there were theories when we were briefed. Maybe a theory when we were briefed in terms of receiving the docket, that there seems to be a suspicion that the shooter or the person who killed the deceased in this matter was inside the house, and it could not make sense to the management as to why the previous investigation team and the others that were there could not address that matter. In other words, deal with the people who were inside the house. So that was part of the briefing that we got to say, look into this matter. This is the information that seems to be running around, and you need now to see if you can get to the bottom of it, of course, if it is true.
Sure.
My lord, the witness is referring to a theory of which maybe needs to be unpacked, whether it was the investigation that revealed that evidence or it is a hearsay evidence through the investigation. Because, my lord, if the witness says after signing the docket there was a theory that a person who shot the deceased was inside the house, so the objection is on the fact that it must be cleared whether it was part of the investigation which led to that theory or it was the hearsay. or it's the evidence they had, as the court reasons.
Well, I'm baffled by that objection. Well, it's already on record that there were two theories, and the witness is just merely rehashing the mandate that was given to them. And I think the objection is with respect premature. The witness will deal with all these aspects.
Why do you say it's hearsay evidence?
My Lord, I was saying because I do not understand the theory, what the theory is, my Lord. That's why I was saying at least if it can be unpacked, that it was as a part of the investigation or part of the evidence they had as investigating team, my Lord, so that one will understand whether it amounts to a hearsay or what type of evidence, my Lord.
No, but they say he says there was a report made to him on assuming command of the investigation that there are allegations, if you don't want to call it a theory, there are allegations that the person who allegedly murdered the deceased was inside the house.
Yes, my Lord.
Is that what you're saying, sir?
That's what I'm saying, my lord.
My Lord, then if it was a report that was made to him, then it has to be disclosed. It's a report by who?
Yes, sir.
So, my Lord, I stand up to support the objection of my learned colleague, Advocate Msholon. Somebody must have actually made such a report. Who is that person for one to make a conclusion that this exists as a theory?
My Lord, we need to look no further than the proposition that was put by Mr. Mbongezulu himself.
What did he say about the theory?
That Longway is the person who shot the deceased. Now, this is what the witness is saying, and now there's an objection.
This is examination in chief.
Yes.
This is examination in chief. This is the new evidence brought by Brigadier Gininda in chief in the main trial.
Well, Lord, we have a lot of ground to cover. We're not going to detain ourselves with such trivialities.
It is the court, but it is not a triviality. I think the state probably used a very inaccurate term there, because we're also concerned about the source of this report to the effect that the shooter was one of the people in the house. What is the source of that information, or who is the source of that information? That's our concern, because we cannot treat this as just a mere triviality. Can we?
Yes, but we will deal with that in due course. Brigadier, just perhaps for the record, there was a briefing in this matter when it was assigned to you, is that correct?
That is correct, my lord.
And for the purpose of the record, can you just mention as to who assigned the matter to you?
I received the instruction from then National Commissioner General Ketha Sitole. He's the one that gave me the directive, my lord.
You mentioned that the other members of the team, Lieutenant Colonel Ramuhala, Sergeant Mohula, and Sergeant Mohani, came from the cold case unit. Can you just maybe explain the other members, Warrant Officer Makubo and Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi, how did they come into the picture?
Well, when I was briefed and given the mandate to take command of this investigation, my lord, I was informed that they will form part of this team. They were seconded. As to how, I don't know, but that was the indication to me, and then subsequently we met, and then we worked together for some time. But through the difference of opinions, we sort of went to different directions.
Yes. Yeah. Did you know from which units of the police they came from?
Yes, Warrant Officer Makubo was from the DPCI, I think in Germiston. Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi, she was a captain then. She's from the psychologist unit, I think FSL in Pretoria.
What happened then after the matter was assigned to the team that you led?
Yeah. So the first directive that I gave, my lord, is that copies of the docket must be made for each member of the team. That was done, my lord. The purpose thereof was, which was part of my directive, was so that each and every member of the team can analyze, can read the docket, and make sense as to whether, what happened based on the preliminary evidence. Based on the preliminary statements and evidence that was collected. Can we say they were perpetrators, and who are they, if the docket indicates such? And if there are no perpetrators, what evidence do we have? As I said, we were sitting with the primary thing of establishing whether they were intruders, and if they were intruders, who are they, which was the purpose of dealing with this matter. And in the absence of the intruders, based on the evidence, who were then the perpetrators of this murder of the deceased, my lord? Now, my lord, after on the specific time where now we obviously had to meet and get together in terms of what we found, it was clear that the views are the same. They still believe that there were no intruders. Based on what I've analyzed, I believe there were intruders.
Just a minute. Now, who held the view that there were no intruders?
Warrant Samakubo and Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi were of that view, my lord. And I must also admit, my lord, before actually reading the docket thoroughly, I also believed at some stage when we briefed, say there were no intruders. But obviously, when one looked at the docket, the evidence told me otherwise.
And what was your initial view based on?
Well, it wasn't
There were
really,
no intruders.
it wasn't really based on any facts, my lord, because it was before I had an opportunity to really look at the docket, except what I was hearing. But when one looked at the docket, and I will deal with what convinced me, my lord, I had to look at certain facts that were contained in the docket, and those facts made me come to a conclusion that there is no other way there were intruders.
Yes, but perhaps maybe just to deal with it in a more structured way, you make copies for members of all members of the team. You ask them to go and read the evidence and analyze it. What happened thereafter?
So we would have then got together, my lord, where now these different views came up. That there's the two that I've mentioned. The two members believe they were intruders, and we had a view. I had a view together with Colonel Ramohala that the evidence suggests that they were intruders, and it is based on that slowly then we went apart. There was no formal arrangement for the team, these other two members, to stop working with us, but they we just went different directions, my lord, and that gave rise to the opening of the docket 375 of 1/2019. I was not aware of it. I learned at a later stage, my lord, after this docket was opened, that it was in existence, and it was suggesting that certain people in the house were involved, or rather, yes. I also heard, my lord, that it dealt with the issue of, I'm just summing up. I know that okay, do you want us to go there?
Yes, we'll get there. When was this?
Sorry, can I ask the witness to raise his voice? I can hardly hear since I'm far away from the witness.
Are you aware as to who opened this docket for Slaughter's 375-1 of 2019?
According to the system, my lord, it's warrant officer Makubo.
Yeah.
I may also add, my lord, the reason I did not have that much information, I never had sight of this docket. The only time I saw it briefly, not actually perusing it, but seeing the file, was at the DPP's office here in Pretoria on the 29th of January 2020, but seeing the file, not actually the contents. That was the first time. Then the second time was when, my lord, it was ordered, I think in 22 by the court, that it must be disclosed to the defense, and obviously then it was made available to the state advocate, and we had to make copies. I think that would have been 2022 or so. That was already the first time where, when we were making copies, I actually had sight of it for the first time.
Are you able to put a month as to when in 2022 that was, when you first had sight of the contents of this docket,
My lord,
375-1 of 2019?
Yes, yeah, 375 of 1 year. I think it will be after September, October, around that period, because I know that was the time the DPP and myself were given instruction to get this docket for the defense. So it was around that period, September, October 2022, my lord.
You mentioned that you first saw the docket at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions on 29 January 2020. Can you just briefly deal with the circumstances under which you saw that docket?
Yes, so the circumstances were as follows, my lord. Subsequent to the differences that arose between us, let's say the investigators that were nominated, and I'm including Warrant Officer Makube and Buthelezi, the National Commissioner then appointed a Brigadier Perumal, to actually come and lead. And one, it was for the purpose of him making analysis on what is contained in the docket, and secondly, to lead the team now between the SAPS and the NPA, because it was not how do I put it, my lord? It was not a suitable environment between the parties that were involved, and it was overflowing to the NPA in terms of who now must brief the NPA with these different views that were now taken to them on this matter. Now, Brigadier Perumal, my lord, was at that stage leading, I think, the commercial unit in the Eastern Cape. He was from the Eastern Cape. And he was assisted by then Colonel Woods, who was from the DPCI Anti-Corruption Unit. He's now a brigadier in the Western Cape also, for the Anti-Corruption Unit. Now, my lord, when they came on board, I was asked by them to avail the docket at the time, which I did, so that they could make copies, analyze the docket, because they needed to brief the NATCOM. I also do know, my lord, that they tried to find the other docket, because when they came on board, it was after this 375 docket was already opened, but they did not succeed.
If you say they, who are you referring to?
I'm referring to Brigadier Perumal and Brigadier Lutz.
But why were they unsuccessful in their efforts to obtain a copy of this docket 3751 of 2019?
I was informed, my lord, that they received resistance when Brigadier Perumal tried to phone the two members with an intention of getting this docket. From what he told me, there was resistance, a mere resistance, and as a result, they did not succeed.
So we can just perhaps leave out of account what he told you, but the fact of the matter is they were not successful in getting a copy of CAS 3751 of 2019.
That is correct. They were not successful, my lord.
Yes.
Now, they then, after analyzing the docket, my lord, they I know that there was a meeting with the National Commissioner where they briefed him, obviously, of the challenge that I've mentioned and what they saw on this docket in terms of the view. It must also be mentioned, my lord, or noted that at that stage, we were not in sight of any of these accused. So it was just merely, what is the docket telling us? Is it telling us that they were intruders, or is it telling us that they were no intruders? So as to who were the perpetrators at that stage, we were not there. There was no clue and none whatsoever at that stage. The report that was given, my lord, was that they were of the view that they were perpetrators who came into the house, as much as they do not know who, but the evidence suggested that they were perpetrators who came into the house.
Yes.
I'm not sure if such report has been handed over to the defense.
Yes.
I'm not sure if such report has been handed over to the defense.
They share their view with you. What happened further?
I was then, my lord, asked by them that I should introduce them now to the prosecutor from the NPA that is dealing with that matter at that stage, because it was already assigned to the North Gauteng DPP. That, my lord, led me to me making arrangements with the DPP, and subsequently then that meeting of the 29th of January 2020 then took place, where Brigadier Perumal was there for the first time to meet the DPP and obviously indicate that he will be leading, from the ACPS side on the directive of the NPA, and obviously the directive or the direction that the investigation will be taking.
With due respect, we're going to request the Brigadier to raise up his voice once again, because he starts well, but towards the end of his explanation, it's becoming faint. We are unable to follow everything that is saying.
My lord, I'm speaking as much as I can, so I will consider that, because
Somebody can switch off this.
Apparently, they're centrally controlled.
Central, by the way.
It cannot be switched on.
I will do my best, my lord, but I'm doing the best I can.
Yes, you can continue. Perhaps
So,
if you can just move the dockets to the side and get closer to the microphone.
it's this one I'm using.
Yes.
Yes. So then on the 29th of January, my lord, 2020. We then met the team that was assembled, or rather that was assigned from the NPA to deal with this matter. The names that I recall, it was Advocate Leonard, I think there was also Advocate Mahwata and Advocate Baloyi, that is before God.
Yes.
My lord, so the Brigadier obviously introduced himself, and the two members, I'm just not sure whether they arrived first or they found us there, but Warrant Officer Makubo and Buthelezi also arrived. And that is the day, my lord, where I said they were in possession now of this 375 docket, which obviously I saw from the distance when they were addressing the DPP. And it was also the first time that Brigadier Perumal, my lord, came face to face with them, obviously after facing the challenge of getting the copies of the docket. The meeting, my lord, didn't really end well, because the Brigadier was taking exception about the protocol that was not being followed, the discipline. So it didn't end well, which ended with the two members leaving with that docket from the DPP, leaving us behind with the state advocates. Obviously, the investigations and the instructions, my lord, we didn't discuss when we left, with the DPP to say what is their view, what must be followed, those nitty-gritty were discussed. Obviously, after these issues were dealt with, these differences and the arguments, my lord. Yes, I think my recollection, my lord, that's what happened on the 29th, the DPP's office.
And you mentioned that you never saw the docket until in September of 2022.
That is correct, my lord.
And is it correct that at that stage the previous proceedings were underway?
That is correct, my lord.
Brigadier, if we can then come back to what you mentioned earlier on, that upon your assessment of the docket, there were certain facts that informed you that there were intruders.
Absolutely, my lord. There were those factors, but as I was looking into those factors, I must also mention that I was looking at them in relation to Longwe Twala, because in the midst of those allegations, Longwe's name was coming up as a possible suspect who may have shot the deceased. So one of the things that I looked at, my lord, obviously when I looked at the docket, was to establish that according to the preliminary statements which the defense has, there was a report that one of the cell phones belonging to Ms. Kelly Kumalo was robbed. That was one of the allegations that was said.
Again, I didn't hear you.
So in the preliminary reporting, in other words, your A1 statements, it was alleged, my lord, that during this robbery that led now to the killing of the deceased, a cell phone belonging to Ms. Kelly Kumalo was taken by the intruders. I was able to establish the specific number that was taken, my lord, because she had two cell phones that were disclosed according to the docket. Yes, so there was a 082 number, I think it's 703, I forgot the last four numbers, that was not taken. Then the 072 is the one that was alleged to have been taken by the perpetrators.